Now, all you'll be hearing is how the Conservatives lost the election and by what huge margins and how they were trounced and all that sort of thing. But not everywhere. We're not going to introduce you to this man. Let's speak to Matthew Goodwin Freeman. And Matthew's a bit of a political genius, a political guru here, because he was campaign manager for an MP called Bob Blackman. Bob won the seat, and with over 50% of the vote share going to Bob. So the thing is, Matthew, as we speak to you this morning, amid all this, despair amongst Conservative voters, we've got to ask you, how did you do that, and what lessons have we to learn from you?
Good morning, and that's the question that I've been asking myself all weekend, and thank you for having me on again. We bucked the trend in Harrow East. We increased the majority from 8,000 to 12,000 in a seat where colleagues were losing 20,000 votes. Bob's the only MP now with over 50% of the vote share. And I really think it comes down to three things. One, the candidate. Bob is out in the constituency every single week. He's knocking on doors every weekend and has built a name for himself as the local guy. Secondly, the campaign, and this is where I try not to congratulate myself too much, but we ran a stellar campaign. We had thousands of leaflets going out. We were knocking on every single door. We were speaking to as many constituents as we could, and we had that relentless pace again and again, right from the moment Rishi called the election, right through to polling day. And then lastly, I think it's that connection between Bob and the constituents. We framed the whole election about Bob, and we ran a positive campaign about what he's done and what he would continue to do. And I think that's where the voters in Harrow East rejected the negative campaigning, rejected the national campaign, and focused on whose name it was on the ballot paper. And that was Bob, and they backed Bob. That was our tagline.
That's interesting. And Matthew Goodwin Freeman, you won't have been the only campaign under the Tories that sort of distanced themselves from the Sunak administration, perhaps with not as much success. Another person who did succeed with a very local campaign was Jeremy Hunt, the former Chancellor, and it was really squeaky bum time for him. Lots of speculation he'd be the first sitting Chancellor to lose his seat, but he was out 6 hours a day, knocking on doors. They were out with the minibuses on election day, driving people to the polling stations. Do you have things in common with your campaign and Jeremy Hunt?
I think when Jeremy was out 6 hours a day, Bob was out most of the day, and he's been doing that not just now, but throughout before the election even was started. The thing is, unlike others, Bob is out all the time. It's not just at election time. And I think that's what the voters really respected, that he is a face they recognise on the doorsteps, that he does so much for them. I've been lucky to work in Bob's office before, and he has done over 80,000 pieces of casework and make sure that every email, every letter gets a reply. So there's more to it than simply
Matthew,
working hard.
What I think you did, which would appeal to me as a constituent, is you made it about local issues. And it becomes so detached from reality when we all start looking at all sorts of pie-in-the-sky issues that don't really affect us. But the things that affect the people in that constituency, what were they? What were they in particular? What was the minutiae?
We were talking about Bob's track record: more money for our schools, more money for our hospitals, more money for local businesses. Bob's delivered millions of pounds for our local schools. Bob's delivered a new ward at Norfolk Park Hospital and delivered millions of pounds for our local businesses. So we talked about what Bob has done in the local area that people can physically see in front of them. And that's, I think, how we did it. Because you can talk about whatever you want on the national picture, but if people can't see it in front of them, they won't realise that's down to you. And I think that's what the party's got to recognise. People need to see change.
Yeah, and the party obviously needs to regroup, reflect on what went wrong and choose a new leader. I wonder if you'll be getting any calls from anyone to run any campaigns, and if so, who you'd be hoping for?
Look, I'm a member, and I hope the members get a choice, and I think we will get a choice. That's the most important thing. But there's more than just purely the leader. There's the entire structure, the organisation, CCHQ as a whole, and how we reconnect the members on the grassroots to the party at the top. And that's what we've got to do over the next 5 years. We've got to get on with it. But let's not rush, because rushed decisions make bad decisions. Let's take our time and get it right so that we can win the next general election.
Very interesting to hear all that, Matthew. Thank you. Very good few tips there. I wonder will anybody act upon them and see the difference there. Thanks for your time, Matthew. We'll say goodbye to you this morning.